Welcome back, everyone. We have an amazing panel of experts here, and so we're going to jump right in so we don't lose any of our opportunity to chat. Give us a one-sentence descriptor of what it is you do in your role.
Henry Stokes, I'm based here in the UK, and I am country manager for the newly formed PayPal Ads solution. So we're pretty fresh, but we're growing quickly here in the UK.
Chris Norton, Marriott International. I am the general manager of Riot Media, which is our brand new media network, as well as leading our marketing capabilities and personalization efforts at Marriott.
Lucia Mastromauro, I am VP of Advertising at Deliveroo, leading from product development all the way to commercial for ads.
And I'm Aaron Gallagher. I'm the Managing Director and Head of Sales for Connected Media by United Airlines. So I run the sales and commercial team for Connective.
Great, well, welcome. I'm Jessie Dowd. I am the Vice President of Content and Community for Brand Innovators. Let's talk about being innovative, being disruptive. In one sentence, who wants to make the case for how your category is the most exciting new frontier for commerce media? Henry.
I love the idea of being referenced as a disruptor, so that's the first to me, so I'm pleased to do that. But look, I think, when I think about the data, when I talk as a media buyer, we use third-party data. That was no good. We all realized that. We gravitated towards the walled gardens and their first-party data, and that was good. But now there's this explosion of fantastic businesses with fantastic first-party data opportunities. And I think that's a great thing for the advertising business, great diversity, and it can bring a lot of value for advertisers.
Chris, you want to overrule him?
I won't overrule him. I'll add to that, and I'd like to think that what we're doing at Marriott is the very first commerce media network in hospitality, is that we are disrupting that a little bit. And I think there's a very unique aspect to one of the channels we're bringing this to life in, which is the hotel room itself. And there's a well-studied psychology of the traveler and consumption that really plays into the openness of consumers to new messaging, to trying new things, to exposure to new brands. And with this very captive audience, which I think has a lot of similarities to how our partner at United is thinking about this as well, this very captive audience in the hotel room, we're able to really tap in to that different mindset that I think is different from any other channel out there.
Lucia?
So many things. I think the beauty of the Deliveroo ads business is that you really live in the moment and you're so close to purchasing. But you can go further than that. From ad to purchase, you can have your product in your hands in 30, 40 minutes. So I think the leaps of innovations that we are seeing in media today really show advertisers and brands, that connection to the consumer is a lot more close together these days.
Aaron?
Yeah, and with Connected Media, it truly is a first for an airline to launch a traveler or a commerce media network. And we're really focused on the omni-channel traveler journey, so reaching the consumer before, during, and after travel. So that's when they're on United.com and on the United app, when they're in the airport and they're in our clubs, and then engaging with them similar to what Chris is talking about within the rooms, within the screens that we have within the plane. So that's been a big initiative for United to really enhance that user and customer experience in flight. And the attention metrics that come along with that are really key. And I like to say that we really reach a consumer that has a great amount of attention and they have money to spend.
So we're here to talk about disruption, and obviously you can't have disruption unless you break a few rules. So what's one retail media rule that you think everyone should break?
I don't know if it's breaking it, but prioritizing, I think, first and foremost, that this is a quick way for brands to make money is a rule that most people, either in this business or thinking about getting into a media network business, should really contemplate if that's the motivation that's going to serve their customers the best and ultimately serve the success of the business the best. So I think at Marriott, we actually tested this for almost 3 years before we launched to try to figure out what's the right mix of brands coming to life in our channels with our brand to make sure that the customer viewed it as a receptive welcome message. And that not only is proving to sort of be more performant for ourselves, but also more performant for our advertisers.
I can talk to you all about performance to the nth degree, and there's a huge play in performance for retail media, but I think and I don't know if it's a rule, but it's a mindset, I would say, that everyone thinks of retail media as being just performance. It is a massive brand building channel, and it's also not simply a channel for endemic brands within the different networks. It is a significant channel for non-endemic brands to build a story around the moment that is very valuable for that consumer to engage with maybe brands that are not exactly on the purchasing power path at that moment, but also are relevant to that mission.
One of the rules that I would try and break, and indeed we are trying to break, is not be governed by the status quo in terms of a formulaic on-site, off-site ad business. And one of the things that we try and do is think about what's unique to PayPal, and that is that we're a payments business. We can facilitate a payment, we can offer the right reward or incentive to a purchase. So what we've endeavored to do is take that and ensure that we take the payment opportunity and the purchase opportunity to the consumer wherever they are. So develop a very unique ad format where you can actually purchase in the ad format itself. That's channeling what is unique to PayPal, and each of us have unique aspects to our own businesses, and if you really think about what those are, you develop a completely new ad format and a new ad opportunity, which is a rule breaker.
Yeah. Aaron, what would you add?
I think a lot of us think about the consumer experience, but I think at the end of the day, it's so much about putting the customer at the center of everything that you do. And that's something we're focused on. As we like to talk about it as the flywheel of travel. We're reaching travelers, we're reaching our loyalty members, but we're also enhancing the experience with tailored and customized experience from an advertising perspective that is just going to continue to enhance that user experience and deliver messaging that's relevant. And I think the other thing too is, while everyone's focused on omni-channel and full funnel experience, I know today we talked a lot about the value of branding, and we're focused on that in a very big way because we have such a captive audience that's spending an hour and a half in the airport or in our clubs. They're spending over 3.5 hours on the plane. It's a huge branding opportunity. So looking at ways that we can continue to drive great creative brand messaging delivered directly to somebody who is, captive in their seat for 3+ hours. That's something we've really been focused on.
So I want to talk about proximity to purchase. This is obviously one of the much publicized strengths of retail media, but when that's not the case, what is that core advantage of the commerce network, and how do you measure that? So Henry, I'd love to get your thoughts.
Yeah, I go back to the, we're trying to, again, not be limited by that proximity purchase, and we take the purchase opportunity to the consumer wherever they are with that storefront ad unit that I mentioned. And what we can then do with that is, as I said, target the exact new to brand audience that you want. So somebody who hasn't transacted on your brand or retailer's website before. So that coupled with an incentive as well to make that purchase, reward, offer, coupon, etc., can drive incrementality. So incrementality is a great measure for that ad opportunity. The other thing that we are really focused on is reporting on market share. So because PayPal sees across all categories and over 30 million merchants globally, we're able to start to pick up a brand or a retailer's market share. And if we're able to run campaigns and then start to measure that lift, that's an incredibly powerful and new source of measurement. Yeah.
Lucio, what would you add?
So in terms of measurement, being able to engage with consumers in a retail media network, even if your product's not being transacted there, is so the majority of retail media networks will have a depth of data that's not generally available just buying media across traditional publishers. You will also be able to create engaging and quite relevant formats that are very close to the mission that the user is trying to buy. So it is about pairing the brand to the journey that the consumer is trying to buy. A good example for us, entertainment is a massive area in our mission for our clients. once a client transacts, they are in the mindset of being entertained. They will be leaning into the brand, but leaning back in terms of relaxing and trying to engage with content that's actually going to buy them time until they wait for their delivery and so on. So I think a lot of the retail media networks have that power of offering a space in time for a brand to engage, even if that brand is not necessarily endemic, but it is in alignment with their mindset at that time. And you can really pick that quite precisely, not so much if you're just programmatically buying, audiences out there. It's beyond context in a way.
So, as we start thinking about those new formats and new ways to engage, what are maybe some specific innovative examples of a campaign that was really successful? And Chris, I know we talked a little bit about this on our call. Can you share that?
Yeah, we don't have endemic advertisers in our business, so everybody's not endemic. And we thought a lot of what we would be able to deliver was going to be upper funnel, brand awareness, consideration, et cetera. But what we found is by partnering with advertisers in ways that can push into the lower funnel, we've actually been very successful at that through a variety of ways. A couple examples with Gatorade. Pepsi is our global partner in our hotels. We worked on a hydration campaign. That's their push with Gatorade, but we really tweaked it with them to talk about hydration while you travel. And not only Pepsi tracks very closely the shipments of their products into each of our hotel units, but we were able through this quite immersive hydration campaign brought to life in the hotel room and our other channels as well on our digital channels, but in the room to actually drive a 7 percentage point increase in Gatorade consumption in the hotels. We also saw a 2 percentage point increase in hotels that weren't carrying Gatorade. They carried other Pepsi products that were being requested by guests exposed to the ad, so they started carrying it. And they were also launching a hydration-based loyalty program where we were able, through the use of a QR code and collateral in the hotel room itself, so really bridging the digital and the physical, drive a 400% increase in loyalty signups to their. So we're seeing both ends of the funnel sort of work in this new dynamic of the hotel. And similarly, Visa, the card, was able to drive a 13 percentage point increase in the use of their card booking international travel, which was another campaign that we brought to life with them, where we were able to feature our destinations and build trust around Visa as a card to be used while you're traveling internationally. And so both those examples, I think, illustrate sort of the ability of us to drive not only great upper funnel metrics as well on those, but to drive end results as well.
I want to go back now to some of the themes that everyone's been talking about today with creativity, right? And that art and science of retail, and how do you blend data with creativity to achieve those objectives across the funnel? And so, is there an example you can think of where you truly engaged both sides of that, and how did you actually measure that success, Aaron?
Yeah, we've been, travel endemic partners, hotels, cruise lines are core to our advertiser base that we're working with. We've also been working a lot with B2B advertisers, luxury advertisers, people who want to reach that person sitting in first class. So there's been a really good diversity of categories that we've been working with. But an example in the travel endemic space that's a good combination of being able to drive brand awareness and lower funnel metrics is we've been working closely with a lot of the tourism boards across the world to promote their destinations. So from a branding experience, having presence on the screens in our clubs and on our in-flight entertainment. But what we're also able to do is look at closed loop reporting, where we know exactly how many flights are generated based on a campaign that was promoted across all of our owned and operated. So in a number of cases with tourism boards we've been working with, we're able to see, based on this campaign, we drove brand awareness for the destination, but we also drove X number of bookings on United specifically to those destinations. And we've been able to model out just how much tourism revenue we've actually been able to drive to these destinations. So that's been a big area of focus, and it will continue to be for 2026 as we move forward. But in addition to working across a number of categories, that's one where I feel like we've had a ton of success in being able to not only prove brand awareness and high impact resonating with consumers, but actually driving ticket sales and driving tourism revenue to the destination.
At PayPal, we realized, obviously, when people are sending peer-to-peer payments, they're using emojis a lot as they were sending their friends money. And so emoji targeting is something that we've started. So, for example, Chewy.com can own the dog emoji within PayPal and Venmo. So, bit of creativity, but with actually a great sort of result for that particular retailer.
Very cool.
I think an interesting one, and it's a little bit of a story of a journey of a brand starting to work with us. Whispering Angel wasn't exactly a partner from an ads perspective with us, and they had no visibility of how many of their products were transacted and so on our platform. So we started working with them, onboarded them into our Rupos. Rupos is an insights product that we have, which enables a brand, could be a CPG and so on, to really get a lot of intel in relation to their products and brand and data on purchasing versus competitors and so on. So we onboarded them. From there, the team built a campaign plan that not only was highly customized and bespoke to the moment and to the time and so on, but it led them to pretty much own a rosé month moment within Deliveroo, really targeted and timed to the times where you would expect, to be craving a little bit of rosé. The brand awareness, the metrics were phenomenal. The brand awareness was fantastic. We were able to report back on incremental ROAS, activation of new customers, reactivation of customers that had purchased in the past and hadn't purchased in a while. And the beauty of it is because we stocked some of it on our hop stores, which are basically warehouses throughout the UK, we were able to deliver that rosé chilled in 30, 40 minutes to the consumer. So from seeing an ad on the platform, clicking, purchasing, and receiving a rosé just 30 minutes later, I think that's I wouldn't say particularly complicated to think as a concept, but it's a really special moment if a consumer is engaging with an ad and receiving the product pretty fast.
So we're nearly out of time. We have a couple questions we didn't get to, so I'm going to shoot them at you rapid fire, so be on your toes. In terms of the attention economy, how does that impact your offering? Chris?
Well, I think that's, again, at the core of what we're trying to do, in that we're trying to bring relevant messaging to life in a highly targeted way with our brand in these very intimate spaces like the hotel room. And I think we work strongly with brands to work on what that messaging looks like, and not just tacking ads on to the digital spaces that we can. And that's really, I think, what cuts through the noise.
Henry, this one's for you. What's one traditional retail media play out of the playbook that you want to borrow?
I mean, I think we've seen all of the traditional retail media players sort of start with their on-platform solution, move to an off-platform solution, and maybe they've taken a little bit too long a time to make that transition. And so I think one of the things that we are certainly looking to do at PayPal is make sure that we move off-platform as quickly as possible, enable that scale of those 400 million plus PayPal users globally to be targeted by advertisers and retailers. So yeah, move off-site quickly and go after the non-endemics as quickly as possible.
All right, and to finish us out, what does winning in commerce media look like in the next 5 years? What's your one-word response?
It's all about the consumer. It's building for the needs of the consumer, and I think there is a huge amount of opportunities there.
Aaron?
I would say getting travel media and commerce media to be part of the mainstream media ecosystem as opposed to something that's new. And I think that will evolve, and I think that will come.
Chris?
I would echo that, but I also think that the application of AI in how we're connecting with our customers in highly relevant ways will mature in 5 years to the point where it's the way we go to market every day.
Yeah. Henry?
Yeah, I'd probably tack onto that and say, the personalization of the messages that we're able to deliver, right product, right price, right way to buy it. How do you want to buy it? Do you want a credit product? So the personalization of not just the product and the ad, but sort of the entire sort of purchase process.
Well, that was a lot to get through. You guys did amazing. Let's give a round of applause for our panel.